Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Ed Staffman, representative of House District 62, downtown and historic district of Bozeman, extending to the Gallatin Mountains. So I've got this, I bring to you today House Bill 458, and I've got just a couple of handouts, if I might distribute them, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 458 seeks to amend the impersonation of public servant statute. Currently, the statute has only one part to it, which prohibits a person from falsely pretending to hold a position in public service to induce another one to a person to submit to pretended official authority. It's a tough statute to prove. It requires a purpose. Proving purpose is always hard. And but what it basically covers in its present form is somebody who claims to be a public servant, but most commonly a law enforcement officer who is in fact not. What we saw this summer, both in Montana and around the country, is a related type of conduct that is not covered by the statute. And so what this bill does is add two additional types of conduct that are prohibited, that are closely related to the first, but expand it. So the Section B adds one who falsely assumes or exercises the functions, duties, powers, or privileges incident to the office of an officer. And what that means is you can, say, show up at a rally and not claim to be a law enforcement officer, but say, I'm here to help law enforcement and you're under arrest, or you need to move over to the other side of the street, or something like that. And then Section C prohibits wearing a military uniform with the intent to intimidate a person or to deceive another person. And again, we actually saw this happen around the country this summer. So after the incident one incident in Missoula, I got interested in this question. And first working with the Montana Human Rights Network, I ended up being referred to Mary McCord, who is the legal director of the Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection at Georgetown Law Center. She has a career in law enforcement. She was the acting assistant general for national security at the Department of Justice and principal deputy assistant attorney general for national security from 2014 till 17.
Please wrap it up.
And so she has submitted a letter, which I have circulated, and the second document I've circulated shows the 17 other states that have in their statute the provisions I'm proposing to add to this one. So with that, I will allow I think one or two witnesses, and then I reserve the right to close. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the hearing and consideration of this bill. The language in Section B actually copies from quite a few states. This is lifted right out of the Virginias, which seem to be the one that other states have held up, and in fact was used in Charlottesville when this problem arose. The letter from former Justice Department official McCord says that we saw these incidents in Lansing, Michigan, in Boise, Idaho, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the U.S. Capitol recently, where this became a problem. So that language is right out of the Virginia statute, which is then copied by many other states. The Part C, which adds the military uniform, is actually probably the narrowest of any of the states, because many of the other states, like Arizona, for example, just prescribe wearing a uniform and then have exceptions for people who can wear it. Many of them don't require the intent. as my original bill did when I first drafted it, copying from Arizona and Alabama. And that was when I reached out to Major Talia, or actually he reached out to me, and I asked him to please suggest the language that would work. And we tinkered with that a little bit and ended up with what we've got. In Section C in particular, though, the intimidation or deception is not something foreign to our code, and prosecutors know how to use that. But we give them an avenue of proving that beyond having to go into someone's mind, because going into someone's mind is next to impossible. And so we say if you do this in a circumstance where a reasonable person would know that that this is intimidating or this is deceiving, that becomes the offense. As I said, this is more narrow than most states of the 17 that have it. And if you look at those 17, by the way, it includes Texas and Florida and Alabama, Arizona, Oklahoma, and states like that. Idaho. So it's a wide variety of states. They're blue, they're red, and everything in between. I urge a due pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.